Yeah, it's great. Nope.
No, that sounds so appealing.
Yeah, that's great.
Shut up, woman.
We're done.
Get back in the kitchen.
Wow. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about how to fight in marriage, because this is a very key thing.
I feel like people are already like, is this a trick question? Yes, but I don't know how. So here's the thing, you will have arguments in your marriage because you are two people, different opinions, different brains, different backgrounds. So the trick is, how do you do this well in a way that makes it beneficial instead of just WWE?
Yes, but before we go into that, if you guys are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps us out tremendously. Also, you guys can leave a like or comment down below after we get done with this video and let us know if there was anything new within here that you found to be helpful or something that you were like, hey, this wasn't modeled to me growing up. And so with that being said, we'll jump into how to fight within marriage.
Yeah, so first what you want to do, ladies, is you want to get a good right hook. This is going to be crucial. All you do is just like, they call it a hook, because you come around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
No. You want to be fighting a lot different in your marriage.
Yes, I think, I mean, for the first thing, I think the biggest thing that people have got to understand is they got to understand what are they fighting. Because oftentimes within a marriage, you are always seen as, I am fighting with my spouse, and so I am fighting against them, which means there has to be a clear winner and a clear loser, and someone has to be hurt within that process. But something that we've found through marriage is, as we've had to go through very much trial and error. I think in the beginning it was
with
kind
everyone,
of
yeah.
You
experience it for yourself. Like you even find that rhythm in your cadence together.
Yeah, but we learn how to kind of navigate those things, and especially on disagreements, is understanding, as I said, is, hey, there is a clear problem that we are needing to address. There's something that is hindering our relationship, and instead of me looking at Christian and saying, I'm fighting against you because of this, I'm actually gonna be looking more at the problem and saying, you know what, hey, this is getting in between us. And this is gonna cause an issue. And so we're gonna fight against this issue rather than ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been in that moment where it's like, there's an elephant in the room that we need to address. Just go that way. There is something in the room called an elephant, if it helps you, that you two are tackling together instead of, this is how I feel, this is my prerogative, my opinion, and he or she needs to understand, she needs to see my point of view. Like, no, like focus on, there is something we are combating together.
I think that's huge. And then also, I think it puts things into perspective. If you can kind of look at issues, because there's gonna be things that everyone goes through, every couple goes through, and if you can look at things and say, hey, this is genuinely causing an issue and a rift between us, then it's worth addressing. But then there's also times within your marriage where it's like, man, like I remember we were getting on our honeymoon flight, and the flight attendant was like, are you guys going on your honeymoon? And I was like, yeah. And she said, number one tip, is she said, just don't fight over the small things. And I think over time, those small things can definitely accumulate. Yeah, that they can accumulate, and they can get to a place where it becomes a big thing. But if you are going throughout your day and you're constantly finding like the small things in order to get into a frustration or a fight with your spouse, then there's probably definitely a bigger issue that needs to be addressed. But when you are more in a healthy place and understanding like, hey, we've addressed these things, we've navigated these things, you'll watch as the smaller things don't become something that is out of annoyance. They're more of something that you're like, okay, yeah, my husband does that sometimes, or my wife does that sometimes. Like, I mean, you even like jokingly, like over there, I have a sock collection she jokes about right now, where it's, I just take off my socks when I'm getting in bed and I kind of put them next to the bedside or onto the ground, and she'll joke about it because it's like a collection.
Halfway rolled up socks.
Yeah, it's like a collection over there, and so it's not something that, you know, we've gotten into a fight or an argument about, because it's not been something that...
little. Yeah. It's a little thing. And here's the thing with that is sometimes people go, well, can I not say anything, or do I need to be right? And that mindset in marriage just gets, I think what you're saying is it gets really exhausting keeping score gets really exhausting adding up all the little things, whether you are pointing everything out or you're not saying anything. But instead, like realizing, okay, I do live with this person. I am a female, he's a male. Like there are some things that he has a strength to notice, or some things I have a strength for. Cleaning is something we've gotten better at together, but I would say like it's more my prerogative. So what do we do in that situation is I can either ignore it until I am so frustrated I blow up on him and I don't even know why, or I could joke about it. I could, you know, bring light to the situation without accusing blame, and then sometimes I just pick it up. So it's like
there's
a different way of coming to issues than I have to fight or ignore it. Like have fun, talk about it, help each other. There's just so many, again, the trial and error. That's been huge for us, is not just thinking, well, he's doing this because he doesn't care, and I've cleaned all day and then there's these socks on the floor. I'm like, just pick it up or make a joke. Like find ways to figure things out together in a healthy, again, just fun way.
Well, and then I was gonna say is like going to that understanding is a good way of keeping you guys from a place where you get to the place where it's like, hey, you're keeping tally, you're keeping score, is understanding that marriage is essentially signing up your life to serve the other person. And if you were coming into this place
Someone just sweated. I know they did.
Yes.
Like, wait, I don't know.
But if you're coming to this place where you're keeping tally and you're keeping score, that's not the servant's heart. That's more of a heart of, oh, hey, I need to be taken care of just as much as this person's being taken care of. And so I'm going to be more kind of self-focused on this matter, rather than a servant is more focused on the other person. And if you guys do that well within a marriage, both of you two are going to be taken care of really well. And I think that's key, is that you'll find yourself, if you are in that place of keeping track, keeping tally, or going through that, is really ask yourself, am I being a servant to my spouse? And I love what even the Bible talks about, is the Bible says, you know, hey, if you're unequally yoked and you are with, like you're married. Oh, really?
Yeah, keep going.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you're married to someone, and those are two different verses, but if you're married to someone who is not saved, it said just continue to serve him. Like continue to serve him, and that by your good deeds, he will come to know God. And so it might be
being equally yoked if you are in that, if you're not married yet. But I think that's really amazing. You know, we say be equally yoked, but to have that imagery of a husband or a wife's service to their partner is so transformative that it can actually bring someone to Christ. Definitely something to not be taken lightly.
Yeah, very much so. Well, the next thing I think people should do within a marriage or any relationship is have a short memory. I think this is key to make sure that once when you guys have talked about something, once you guys have kind of had a back and forth on something, that it doesn't come to the next day and something within that triggers it and you just bring back all of the other things that came alongside of that. Yeah, so this was something that we kind of had to navigate a lot within the first year of marriage. Is I remember, for me specifically, is I had to do a more intentional job of making sure that I was not bringing up past things that Christian was doing and continuing to bring those into our future arguments and saying, well, yeah, you said sorry, but you did this and this and this. And then it's like, wait, she was like, we already had a conversation about those things. Why are you bringing those things up? And I think having a short memory of understanding the same exact principle of how like Jesus even talked about, the Bible talks about it in this way, is that your sins are buried in a sea of forgetfulness. As far as the east is from the west, and understanding that the east is from the west, that's actually what that is showing, is those 2 points, the points of east and west, will never touch. And so what that's actually showing is that your sins have been buried in a sea that is infinitely expanding and beyond and will never touch ever again. And so us understanding that we get to have that same understanding within marriage, that we don't continue to bring up things. Now, if you notice there's a common pattern, and I think that's something to be able to address, but you do that in not a you did it this time, you did this time, you did this time, but you are really addressing what the core root of the problem is, and not so much the behaviors of the things that are coming out of it.
Yeah, Because I think if you're having those conversations in a healthy way, there should be something that is grasped from that first mention. So let's say it was Arden was, and this is hypothetical, but he was constantly yelling at me and raising his voice. It's not of, okay, well, we addressed it and he keeps doing it, so I have to just forget and pretend like it never happened. No, if we were having a conversation where we do love and respect each other, we are serving each other, he's gonna hear something within, hey, when you do this, I feel this way. This is a constant, and hopefully there will be continual change in moments of awareness, but we're not saying if there is something really serious in your marriage, if someone is continually abusing or cheating on someone else, that is not something that you just sweep under the rug and act like it didn't happen.
They said sorry one time and then
Right, this is for, okay, within our marriage we are building together, we're not seeing eye to eye on the laundry or dishes, but I'm not gonna say, you left that one spoon in there last night, so I know you don't mean this. Just take that into consideration. There are things you build, but definitely things to watch out for. And we just want to say right here, subscribe, like, and comment, share this video, because what our hope is that through learning how to fight well, we'll actually even build better relationships, better marriages. I mean, it truly breaks my heart when I see the divorce rate is not just crazy among America, but it's also people that are believers and Christians.
It's the exact same,
It's the same. So I think what we need to do is learn these principles. And honestly, when I hear people that get a divorce, there's so many that just say, well, we fell out of love with each other, I just don't even know that person, like I don't see how we got here. And I do think that is building up so much baggage, not being able to overcome conflicts together. Like when you fight and you do it well, you are building up not baggage or trauma or pain points, but you're building wins together. Like I look on some of our first disagreements and fights, and to me it's a win. Like, no, I wouldn't want to relive those or like have that come back, but I'm like, we navigated that. As a young married couple, that first year you're figuring out, but that was a win because we came from it learning each other better, overcoming something, and just having a better respect for one another.
Yeah, and I think even looking back at our kind of first few years of marriage is probably something that would be key to help you guys know how to fight well, is basically identifying where a problem is in terms of like, hey, if there's something that is clearly continually the subject of your arguments that is able to be removed from your life in some capacity, like go ahead and do it. Like if it is, hey, I play too many video games, or there's someone that you hang out with that I don't agree with, I don't think they're a good influence on your life, things like that, where it's like, hey, I can clearly decide in my marriage that if I get rid of this thing within my life, that my marriage is gonna be better, and I can clearly decide that that's gonna happen, then go ahead and do it. Like understand protecting your marriage. For the sake of both of your guys' sanity, like just look at this situation and really evaluate it and say, is this thing worth, costing us, X amount of hours of arguing and going back and forth on this issue? And seeing as, hey, as I sacrifice this thing, I'm basically showing an emphasis and a priority on my marriage. And I'll tell you, like, putting a priority on your marriage is gonna be the most beneficial thing that you can do. It's as what we've even talked about, is marriage is not supposed to be something that is constricting, it's supposed to be something that is enlarging to your life. And so as you put the emphasis on your marriage, you'll not watch as your life gets smaller and smaller, you'll actually watch as your life enlarges. So that's a key thing.
Okay, last tip, and this one I think is really huge for those moments when you maybe just want to rip each other's heads off. I'm not gonna say we've been there, but if you get there, this tip is really great for you. So the last tip for fighting well is actually loving well. What do I mean by that? When you get to those moments of feeling like this person doesn't even understand me, who is a stranger in the room, you need those moments of reflection. So you need intimacy, date nights, laughter, humor, oxytocin is what we call it. Those moments where you're like, I know this person's for me, and we have a library of memories and good times to build off of that make the hard times adjustable. Like you can look back and say, hey, this is a disagreement. it's a fluke, it's something like that. This is what our lives actually look like together. We're building for something. There is a why in our marriage and in our relationship that makes whatever we're working through worth getting back to. That centering point, I think, is really huge.
Speaking of, I mean, we need to go on a date night anyways pretty soon. So we'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe.